Welcome to the Weekly Roar, coming live from the Lion's Den, helping new managers become great leaders and awesome bosses. And now, here's your host, Greg Storch.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for jumping on today for the watch party this week. I'm so happy you decided to join us, and I'm happy to be here with you today while we watch the video for this week. Everybody, welcome to the Weekly Roar. Today, I'm talking about another concept in the foundations of leadership. But before we jump into today's topic, I'm Greg Storch, and my business is called Lion Enterprise. It's a leadership development and coaching business. I'm a certified professional coach and a certified leadership speaker and trainer. Last week, I continued my series called Follow the Leader, Concepts in the Foundations of Leadership, and I spoke about the importance of the daily grind and how you have to be consistent day in and day out if you want to be successful. If you tuned into last week's broadcast, then you heard my example of learning to play the acoustic guitar starting when I was only 9 years old. It really mattered what I did day in and day out. Don't worry, if you didn't catch last week's video, it's quite all right, because you can go to my website at lion-enterprise.com and you can catch all of my videos by going into the Lion's Pride library. You'll see all my videos there, and of course, they're there for you 24/7, 365. Okay? All right, you guys, let's go ahead and kick things off for this week. Today's concept is really about the importance of having the clarity and the foresight as a leader to be able to clear the path for your team and to take them on a successful journey. I'm going to share a story with you today that directly correlates to this concept for leaders. And I'm also going to touch on the fact that the larger your organization is, the better at forecasting and plotting the course you're going to need to be. I think all of you should know by now, I've said it plenty of times, for 24 years, I served in the world's greatest Navy. And I was fortunate enough to serve aboard 2 ships, one of which was an aircraft carrier. And of course, the other one was a much smaller, what we would call a transport ship. Back in 1995, there were reports coming out from the Chief of Naval Operations about an incident involving one of our aircraft carriers. I can remember the reports about the radio transmission still to this day. So one evening, during one of the late night watches, the captain of the ship was summoned to the bridge from his stateroom. "Sir, we have an object on our radar dead ahead, and she's not giving way." The captain rushed to the bridge, glancing down at the radar as he grabbed the handset away from the watch. And in a stern voice, he recited a proper warning. "This is the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln. You are in our path and must give way. Adjust your current course 15 degrees north and speed to 10 knots to avoid collision. Over." A moment of silence passed, and then over the loudspeaker on the bridge, a voice responded, "Recommend you divert your course 15 degrees south, speed to 10 knots to avoid a collision. Over." The captain was stunned. Nobody ever refused his orders. He clenched the handset, and in a calm but firm manner, he responded, Negative. This is the commanding officer of a United States warship. I say again, divert your course. Over. Immediately, the defiant voice came back on the speaker. No, I say again, you divert your course. Over. The captain's face turned red from the blatant defiance of his orders. The entire bridge was watching and listening as this whole thing unfolded. As the captain looked down at the radar screen, the green pulsing blip showed no signs of avoiding the carrier. Once again, the captain responded, I say again, this is the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, the second largest warship in the United States Atlantic Fleet. We are accompanied by 3 destroyers and 3 cruisers. I demand that you change your bearing to 15 degrees north. That's 15 north. Countermeasures will be taken to ensure the safety of this ship and to protect our right of passage. How do you copy? Over. The bridge was on edge, and the captain just stared out of the bridge windows, waiting for the response. And then it came. Roger that, Captain. Copy all. But this is a lighthouse, so it's your call. I'm sure you probably heard that one before. It's a joke. So thanks for humoring me, you guys. By the way, if you were wondering, that was never a true story, but it makes an interesting point. And the point it's making is this. Leaders must understand the reality of their environments and all the challenges they're going to face, while at the same time maintaining faith that they will prevail through it all. Now, the idea of doing this, understanding the challenges, but still having faith that you'll prevail, is what's called the Stockdale paradox. And that was presented in a book called Good to Great. A lot of you have read that book. It's a great read. If you haven't read Good to Great, check it out. Now, the Stockdale paradox, it's a great mechanism to keep yourself grounded as a leader and also be able to entertain the idea of being incredibly successful in your role. All right, let's dig a little deeper into this week's concept of leadership basics. Okay, in a nutshell, this concept in the foundations of leadership is about the responsibilities to successfully chart the course for your team as the leader. It's not just enough for you to have the vision of where you want to take your team, but you also have to plan every detail and even forecast potential roadblocks that may occur along the journey. When I was in high school, my algebra teacher had a saying that was written up in the upper right-hand corner of the chalkboard. Yes, we had chalkboards, not dry erase boards when I went to high school. It was an intimidating quote because I already hated algebra and math in general. So after reading this quote that stayed up there all year, I was sure I would fail her class. And this was the quote. If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. That's a really short quote that nicely explains a lot of this concept. The devil is in the details. And as a leader, we're responsible not only for the overall vision for our teams, but the detailed plan on how to get there. You not only need to know where you're leading your team, but you have to intimately know the way to get there successfully. How do you do that, you ask? That's a really great question. Here are a few things that you can assess yourself on when it comes to where you stand with this concept in leadership. Remember, over the course of the next couple of months, I'm presenting concepts in leadership that you can use to assess your current strengths and weaknesses. Which of the concepts that I'm covering are you doing well with? And which ones need a little more work? Each week, you can rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is I'm not doing that at all, and 10 means I'm doing great. Do me a favor. Actually, do yourself a favor. Don't mark yourself right in the middle at a 5. That's just not committing. Think into it, make a decision, and rate yourself on either side of that median. So, vision, your ability to see the road ahead, to plot the course for your team. You have to have a great understanding of the end state, the destination, before you can chart the course. And most times, the leader is the one determining what that is. You have to have vision. You have to prepare properly. You can't launch your team into action or take them on a journey and just figure the things out along the way or deal with the unexpected obstacles that occur as they pop up. You have to be ready. You have to plan, and you have to estimate what may occur. Once you're ready to lead the team in the direction of your vision, you need to have already planned the whole journey out. Vision. Think about it. This is where your ability to forecast and anticipate will serve you very, very well. So how are you at forecasting and anticipating what lies ahead? And how do you do that? You're going to have to anticipate barriers and obstacles that may pop up as you chart your course, as you plan out how you're going to accomplish the mission and achieve success. So that as you get underway with your team, you're prepared to deal with those barriers and obstacles as they occur, because you'll be ready for them. You will have planned for them. I know. So what if you've never done this before? How do you know what to do? You can speak to experts, others who have done it before you, or who have experienced the setbacks you could experience. They're called mentors and peers. Here's another one. Practice the art of reflection. Evaluate your past experiences and learn the lessons they teach you. That's a great way to build up a reference library of experience. You can use that experience to your benefit. And if you think about what I'm saying, it can be a real confidence booster for your decision making, because you'll know from experience that if I do this, then that will happen, right? Have enough of those experiences to learn from, and when it's time to make decisions, you'll be more confident based on all of your previous experience on how not to do things. Here's another thing that you should check on. You got to realize that you aren't a sole source resource. I mean, you don't know it all, right? We don't. Rate yourself here on how much you rely on your own knowledge when trying to set the vision or chart the course for your teams? Are you being a know-it-all? Are you planning in a vacuum without the input of others? Or do you have the ability to set your ego aside and allow yourself to be informed from all sources? Think about that. If you need to improve here, get comfortable with hearing what others have to share about the same experiences. Talk to peers outside of your organization. Be open to listening to what others have to say. I'm going to try and explain this concept in the foundations of leadership a little bit more by sharing a little bit about my personal life with you. I don't think I've shared this a lot. I may have mentioned it before, but my wife, Samantha, actually did navigation in the Navy. Her rate, what was called a quartermaster. In the Navy, quartermasters they navigate. In the Army, quartermasters are in logistics. So there's a difference, even though they use those same names. And that's actually how Sam and I met. In her job, she was responsible for plotting the courses for the ship on the big, huge navigation charts. I don't know if you've ever seen these before, but they're huge maps of waterways and the oceans. That's how the ship knew where it should be going without running aground or hitting other vessels or running into objects. As you can imagine, this job was particularly important as the ship left ports and entered ports. All of their charts had all of the ports mapped out. They were all well marked with certain points along the route. And as the ship made its way through the port, Sam would get these bearings from these pre-identified landmarks. She would be getting the degrees of these points as they related to the ship's position. And then she would plot those on the chart. That showed the location of our ship as it related to the land and these objects. But before that ship ever left the port of San Diego for a 6-month deployment, those charts were updated and the most recent information was gathered. So they were fully aware of the course ahead. They planned for it. They reviewed the charts. They knew what ports they were going to pull in and when. They knew when the tides were high and when they were low. They knew which objects at each port they would be taking their bearings from. And yes, although it's absolutely true that the captain of the ship can steer it, he also needed those navigators to chart the course. You see, good leaders can chart their own course. They create the vision for what's ahead and know what it's going to take to achieve success. They select their teams carefully. You know, there's a whole bunch of different departments on the ship, and the captain has department heads in charge of those areas. And each one of those areas is responsible for accomplishing the mission of that ship. The engineers, the medical people, navigation team, communications, all of them working together to move that ship through the oceans of the world to get from point A to point B. They select their teams carefully, augmenting themselves with others' strengths. And most importantly, or just as important as all of those things, they anticipate barriers along the way and they prepare for them. You know, before a ship sets out for a deployment, they do what's called workups. They leave the pier and they go out in the local area and they do workups. They practice what they're about to do. They run drills and they get ready and anticipate what could happen so they're ready in the event it does happen. This is why they call it a vision. They have to be able to see more, they have to be able to see farther, and they have to be able to see before anyone else. If you lack the ability to do that, you aren't the leader, you're the follower. All right. I want to leave you with just one more thing to think about as I wrap this concept up. One of the most important things we have to remember as leaders is this. Those who follow us as leaders, whether it's employees, family members, people in our community, our places of worship, and even our own children and grandchildren, they depend on us as leaders to be able to chart the course. Before you get that ship underway and set sail towards your destination, you must follow the process of reflecting and planning, preparing, collaborating, and anticipating if you want to ensure the greatest chance of a successful voyage. If you don't believe me, I challenge you to speak to my great friend, Melanie Ake. She is an avid sailor. During the time of year when it's great sailing weather, her and her husband spend a lot of time on the water. Ask her about navigating and plotting courses. I trust she will tell you the same thing I did, and she will stress the importance of being able to do that. How she relies on her husband, Mike, as the captain of that boat to plot the course, know the destination, to anticipate potential obstacles for them, and to safely navigate to their destination. We have the same responsibility as leaders for our people as Mike does for his crew. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. Think into it. Okay, you guys, I think that's going to do it for me this week. Please feel free to leave your thoughts and comments over there or down below. Let me know what you think. You're going to catch this replay on YouTube. I'm going to post the link here in Facebook a little later. Thanks so much for tuning in again this week for another weekly roar. I appreciate your support. I'll be back here again next week, same place, same time, to speak about another concept in the foundations of leadership. Next week is going to be a concept about math and how we can perform addition as leaders. I hope you'll join me to learn more about what I'm talking about. Have a great weekend, everybody. Until next time, remember, be powerful, but stay poised, just like a lion. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Weekly Roar live event at lionenterprise.com. If you enjoyed this video, please tell others to join us each week here in the Lion's Den. Thanks again, and see you next week.